What's up YouTube, and welcome back to Homebrew Subaru. In this episode I'm going to stick the single overhead cam STI engine into the WRX. So I guess where I'm going to start this episode is with a tiny little rant. I had YouTube recommend one of my videos, got a couple extra 100 views, and I had some new commenters come in, which is always nice. But people presume stuff in life too quickly, and they don't actually take the time to research or look into the history of anything. So, and it's on those people. I have nothing against them. They can comment as they like, and I'll just reply to them as I would. But one guy was telling me this is an NA engine, and why am I putting an NA engine into a WRX? Well, you know, he just presumed that this is an NA engine, and I mean, half of it is. It's an EJ257 STI block with EJ251 NA heads, but will it run a turbo? Absolutely. Another guy was like, bro, that's not a WRX build. Well, that car's a WRX, like, just because I'm not putting an EJ205 into the car doesn't mean it's not an engine build for a WRX. It's like the S13 I built. It's an RB20 in that engine bay, but that doesn't make it a Skyline, and it's still an S13, you know, 240SX. So the engine doesn't make the car, and the car doesn't necessarily make the engine. It's just a thing about swapping, and I'm not going to be selling this car to anybody and trying to sell them a car that has all factory parts on it. This is my Frankenstein kind of thing for myself that I plan on driving for quite a long time. So now that little spiel is over with, first thing I want to start with is the intake and get it bolted on. I did go ahead and clean it up, took a couple little minor things off, the evap lines out of there, took the vacuum lines off for now, cleaned up this little bracket, and I just basically gave it a cleaning. I didn't actually paint it at all, so that's all the original paint that I had on this thing that people were kind of wondering was going to last or not, because I'm not quite sure I'm going to be maintaining this manifold for a long time. I kind of want to go to the long runner manifold that's in the RS, and that intake manifold may end up being used on this engine. So if I do that, I'll end up doing a whole cleanup job and painting on it. But this is what's being used for now. So I've cleaned up all the lines. The bolts are all cleaned up. I've gone ahead and had to do the new connectors. More so, this cam position connector had some cracked wiring here, and so did the crank position sensor connector after I had a good look at it. And then I found the oil pressure connector the same way, and then I had to actually change out the high pressure switch connector for the power steering pump, because its connector is a little different for the WRX pump, which I plan on using on this engine. So I mean, I got rid of a lot of this old really hard harness protection and all the old connectors, soldered everything on. So I'm going to quickly start with the intake. I'm going to bolt this little bracket on and dig out some gaskets, and I'll start by bolting it on, and then I'll be able to sling this thing onto the engine crane. So the intake manifold is bolted on. Everything that can be plugged in is pretty much plugged in. So the oil pressure switch, the crank position sensor, cam position sensor. You want to make sure you go ahead and get your knock sensor plugged in, as well as your coolant temp sensor. They can be a little difficult to get plugged in after the manifold's on. But getting that far, I just went over, make sure I tightened up these fuel clamps, because I don't want any type of leaks. This line I'm leaving a little loose just so I can line it up properly. So I think this is ready to go. And I started digging out the clutch. So this is a Clutch Max kit, or Max Clutch Max from eBay. This is a stage 2 kit for WRX. It has pretty good reviews, so it was a cheap enough kit to go with for the complete set. The pressure plate's apparently good to like 350 foot-pounds of torque. The lightened flywheel is a steel flywheel. So it's not exactly aluminum lightweight, but it is certainly lighter than stock. And I got a full disc this time, no segmented disc. I think this will probably last quite a while. I don't plan on abusing this car too badly, so I think that should do me okay. I think the next step is actually to get rid of the Rad Support because it's coming off anyway. It'll make it a little easier for the engine to pass through here, but that's where I'm going next. I'm going to peel off the front of the car, and then we'll get the engine on the crane and get ready to pass it through here. So as you can see, I've got the headlights off and went ahead and took the fenders off, and that requires the side skirts to come off. A couple 10mm bolts in behind the door and one down on the bottom. The one's down along the top here, and then one hides in behind the headlights, so you have to have them out to get the fenders off. But now that I've got to this point, I can go ahead and continue taking this Rad Support off. I can tell that it has been replaced before, so this car was definitely damaged. And someone did a really nice job of getting this on here. Started to drill out the welds, the spot welding that they did. Like there's 5 on this side and 4 on the other side. They did a fancy job here and actually had the impact sensor for the airbag out and tack welded this from the inside. So I'm actually just going to trim it here and then probably grind it off later. One here, one here. They missed the ones on the inside, so I don't have to worry about those. One here. I'll do the same thing here. And the ones on this end here. So I'm going to drill those out some more, and then I should be able to pry off the rest of it. Because it is going to be replaced, I'm going to be putting the blobeye front end on this car, and this piece is no longer needed. So as you can see, I've made some major progress. I am completely exhausted. This has been a long day. Getting the front Rad Support and clip off of that was a lot more work than I thought it was going to be. Whoever spot welded it on there made the welds quite thick, and I had to cut it in a couple spots. And that's why there was 5 spot welds on one side and 4 on the other. It's a little kinked up on the other side. Not too big of a deal. At least it's off. The engine is on the crane, as you can see. I went ahead and straightened up the oil cooler pipe just a little bit. And then here on the back, I do have the clutch fully installed and ready to go. This is a pull style clutch. So the release bearing and fork have been pre-installed. I've got the fork pin already in there. So basically at this point, all I really want to do is get the engine back sitting in there, because I don't want to go anymore today. But I am going to go ahead right now and drop this thing in there. And there you can see I've got it sitting in place. I've got 2 bell housing bolts and 2 of the nuts holding it on right now, and that way I can go ahead and check the clutch out. I don't have the, I mean it's sitting in the cross member, but I don't have the mounts done up. I just want to make sure I can get that clutch all bled out and make sure it feels good before I start fastening up things. There is a lot of work to do, a lot of wiring, a few things to do with fuel, and of course to get the front of the car back on, but I got to get it off the other car first. So I guess if you aren't aware, the red RS that I've been driving for the last couple of years on and off and through the winters is going to be parted out. The fenders, the hood, the front bumper are all going to go onto the WRX. I'm converting it to a blobeye front end. The drivetrain in it will kind of get split up. I've got another car outside I need to do a repair on, and I'm not sure if I'm going to get into that on the channel or not, but we'll get to that when it comes. And then the transmission and rear diff and stuff can be saved for the Forester, because I want to build up the Forester next year if I can. This is not a race to get done for this season. I have the S13 240SX to drive. I am thinking of selling that car at the end of the season. There's a couple little things I want to do to clean it up just a little bit more. I'm going to have this thing to drive, so I don't really need the Nissan anymore. I'm not driving it the way I should. It's more of a younger guy's car, I think. It was fun to build, it's been fun to drive, and I think just maybe even this season, if it goes after this one, I won't mind so much. I may keep it one more year though, you never know. So yeah, that's where I'm at. There's a lot of things to do. The summer's coming and I've got some projects to complete. If you like this video, definitely give it a thumbs up, and if you're new here and you haven't already, please consider hitting that subscribe button for me. Leave your questions and comments further down below, and I'll see you in the next one.